CQDX, CQDX, CQDX. This is Havana calling. CQDX, CQDX, CQDX. This is Radio Havana calling all shortwave listeners and radio amateurs. Welcome to... DXers Unlimited, Radio Havana's weekly feature dedicated to the fascinating world of radio communications.
Hi, mis amigos all around the world. You are most welcome, as always, to the weekend edition of your favorite listener-oriented, technically-minded Radio Happy program, coming to you once again directly from right next to my ham radio station, 15140Khz CO2KK, exactly as it happened many years ago on the 27th of October of 1998, when I was sending an advance warning to radio amateurs in the Caribbean and Central America as the huge Hurricane Mitch was approaching that area. As many of you that heard that program remember very well, a great number of radio amateurs in the Caribbean participated in a large-scale communications effort related to one of the most powerful storms ever seen in the area ever. Amateurs in Canada, the United States of America, South America, and even from several European countries helped by providing relays on the 40-meter span when long skip made it impossible to work on that band for local contacts. And as expected, practically all the 2-meter band repeaters in the affected areas were damaged or totally destroyed by the hurricane force winds, landslide, and the lack of commercial power. The availability of 80 and 40-meter band amateur equipment that can operate using smaller generators or even car batteries has proven to be a great asset when weather or earthquake emergencies destroy local telecom facilities or makes using them impossible due to excessive traffic generated during the emergency that puts down the cell phone systems. 40-meter band long-distance relays of weather data for stations located in the affected areas and the forecast centers is vitally important too for perfectioning of the forecasting. I'm Nicolo, Radio Amateur CO2KK, your friend here in Havana, Cuba, and host of this twice-weekly show devoted entirely, absolutely, to our wonderful hobby, yours and mine, radio. Now, here is item 2. A detailed explanation of why emergency communications provided by amateur radio operators are essential during hurricanes and earthquakes, as well as large-scale accidents. Hams using portable equipment that can be powered from standby power sources are able to skip vital links to the affected areas. Among the important information provided on those two-way links are weather data, taken at places where there are no official weather stations, advance warning from possible flooding, and help during search and rescue operations required. Later, after the storm is over, the amateur radio links are used to help medical aid workers to select landing sites for helicopters and planes, and in general, to keep things moving during very complex post-hurricane period where telecommunications, local telecom, failed. Among the most interesting aspects of the way hams provide emergency communications is how simple antenna systems, low-power radios, and good and very well-trained operators, and I insist on this, good and very well-trained operators, combine to keep communications flowing for full time during the emergency and afterwards. Most of present-day amateur disaster area communications is done using single-sideband voice, but something is changing because the increasing availability of portable low-cost laptops, notebooks, and tablets, as well as smartphones, are encouraging the use of these radio links during the emergencies, which are much more reliable, use less electricity, less power, and are also less prone to interference of any kind. Computer-to-computer communications via radio link is an ideal way of handling emergency traffic, but as a friend of mine likes to say, it is a developed country approach. But now, lower-priced computers that are now available are making possible implementing keyboard-to-keyboard emergency communications links by amateurs in less developed parts of the world. More about emergency communications during natural disasters a little later today in this edition of DXers Unlimited, coming to you directly from my home QTH, right next to CO2KK, my ham radio station that is now part of the not one but two, actually three emergency communications networks operating on the 20, 40, and 2-meter amateur bands. Now let's take a break. I'll be back in a few seconds. Sí, amigos, you are listening to Radio Havana Cuba. The name of the show is DXers Unlimited, and the URL, the Uniform Resource Locator, is www.radiohc.cu. Again, www.radiohc.cu. The fast and easy way to see us on the internet by surfing to www.radiohc.cu. You may nowadays download from many public free access internet site, a large number of files dealing with antennas, shortwave propagation, solar activity, etc. That will help you to optimize your amateur radio station operations and make it much more useful for handling emergency communications whenever they are required. Yes, amigos, you can also request our QSL card by just sending an email directly to me. Send mail to info.rhc@enet.cu. Again, info.rhc@enet.cu. In phonetics, India, November, Foxtrot, Oscar, Romeo, Hotel, Charlie. Info.rhc at Enet, Echo, November, Echo, Tango, .cu. Now, the next item. Each edition of the big worldwide ham radio contest like the CQ Worldwide Single Sideband or the WPX Prefix Contest helped quite a few newcomers to the amateur radio to increase their total number of countries or DX entities as they are now known. Many Cuban radio amateurs, both old and new, participate in those challenging and interesting events, and some of them have achieved very good results recently. Therefore, the transatlantic medium wave AM band DX season is now in full swing, something that has another peak spanning from December to the end of March because of the expected decrease in the atmospheric absorption caused by the lower solar activity prevailing at this time. Those AM band DXers with good receivers and the special antennas required are able to pull several of the most powerful stations from Europe and the Middle East quite easily during solar minimum years as we're running right now by using narrow filters that let those stations come in between the 10 kHz channel space induced by AM broadcast. And now technical information here at your favorite Radio Hobby program. Now I'll tell you about a super simple 2-element 2-meter band Yagi and beam antenna that is ideal for emergency work. It is built using standard TV antenna elements, recycled or heavy gauge copper wire. The support for the antenna is made from one of my favorite antenna building materials. If you get right, broomsticks or plastic PVC pipe reinforced with broomsticks. This is a very compact antenna by all standards, will provide about 4 or maybe a little more dB gain over a half-wave dipole, but of course, take into consideration many more dBs above the typical rubber duck antenna used by handheld radios or handy talkies as they are also known. The dimensions for the antenna are very easy to remember. If you choose to do your homework in metric, the reflector element is 101 centimeters long, and the dipole-driven element is 98 centimeters long. The two are separated by 50 centimeters of broomstick boom, and the antenna-driven element is fed using standard 50-ohm coaxial cable, and I leave about 30 or 50 centimeters of broomstick behind the reflector element so that I can tie the antenna to any available supporting structure or hold it by hand in an emergency. This is a totally portable antenna emergency system, so it is made using low-cost materials. If it's locked, the elements can be taken from an old TV antenna, or you may buy aluminum tubing of about 10 millimeters or 1 centimeter diameter would be ideal. The dipole element is set at the center, so the two sides should be mounted on a piece of insulating material like acrylic, plastic, polyethylene, or PVC. And this is about the lowest cost amplifier, quote-unquote, amplifier that you can think of. See, by the numbers, a rubber duck antenna used on a typical 2-meter handy talkie has a lot of no less than 6 dB less relative to a half-wave dipole. Now, my Icom ultra-low-cost 2-meter broomstick antenna, the Yagi, 2 elements, has a 4 dB gain over the dipole. In other words, look it around, and you'll see that replacing the rubber ducky with my 2-element makeshift antenna, your signal will be a whooping 10 dB more powerful or 10 times louder than when used the little rubber ducky antenna. I hope to see you all at the middle of the week edition of DXers Unlimited. That's going to be next Tuesday and Wednesday with the CDs. After the half-hour newscast, send your signal report to info.rhc@enet.cu and via airmail to Icom, Radio Havana Cuba, Havana, Cuba.
And that's all for today. This is Icom, Radio Amateur CO2KK, your host here at Radio Havana's DXers Unlimited, saying 73 and very good DX.
That's right, Ronnie Coro with DXers Unlimited, heard every week right here on Radio Havana Cuba. Also on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, UTC days, as Arnie says, the midweek edition, and now the weekend edition here of DXers Unlimited.